There is a law, subtle and silent, yet more powerful than the clamor of 10,000 voices. It is the law of mind, the law of assumption, the law of divine supply, and when rightly understood, it opens doors where walls once stood. The method I shall reveal today is not merely a technique, but a spiritual key, a vibration that unlocks the abundance already assigned to you in the infinite. This method, this secret, does not bend fate. It aligns your consciousness with the highest reality, where all things are already yours. It is not superstition. It is divine science. Men and women struggle endlessly, casting their hopes on chance, believing the lottery to be a game of numbers. But nothing in this world moves unless it is first moved by the mind. And mind, when it is aligned with spiritual law, creates results so swiftly that to the untrained it seems like magic or overnight luck. The truth is, there is no luck. There is only alignment. The great mistake is to beg for wealth, to plead for provision, when all along the riches of the kingdom are within. The lottery ticket is not your source, it is the symbol. It is not your supply, it is the avenue. The true supply is infinite substance, and this method I give you tonight, dear listener, draws directly from that wellspring. It calls to the unseen, and the unseen obeys. What is this method? It is the practice of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, of living in the end result, even before a single number is drawn. The law is precise and impartial. It delivers not what you want, but what you prepare for, what you accept without resistance. Your only task is to become the version of yourself who has already received, already celebrated, already walked in that sudden blessing. Speak not of how, for how belongs to spirit. Speak only of already done. You must eliminate doubt as one would uproot a thorn from the flesh. Doubt is the poison that delays. Faith, when unmixed with fear, brings results that astonish the natural mind. You need not strain, for the law does not require effort. It requires belief, a calm, quiet knowing, a deep and joyous expectation. Picture the numbers in your hand, feel the paper, hear the announcement. Let the thrill of victory wash over you as though it were real. Because, in truth, it is. And if your outer world has yet to catch up, do not be moved. The delay is only the shadow of your own resistance dissolving. You are not waiting on fate. You are aligning with your good. This secret method works not because it manipulates luck, but because it honors law. And law, when aligned with, responds like lightning. Swift, certain, unquestionable. You do not need to be worthy, you already are. You do not need to chase, you must simply receive. There is no outer condition so fixed that inner conviction cannot change it overnight. The invisible becomes visible the moment you stop arguing with your good, speak it, feel it, see it, know it. The door opens the moment you decide it must. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the cornerstone of all manifestation. The silent lever that moves the immovable, the invisible seed from which visible results must bloom. It is not a hollow repetition of desire, nor a vague hoping. It is a deep inner shift, a rearrangement of the soul, in which one ceases to long and begins to live as though the desired result were already achieved. The outer world is a mirror, reflecting faithfully the state of your inner conviction. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to bypass the visible and step directly into the reality you choose. In this practice, you do not beg for results. You do not strive. You do not reach with trembling hands toward some distant good. Instead, you draw it to you by being it. You wear the consciousness of the outcome like a robe, and you do not remove it. The world may still appear unchanged, but within you, the shift has already occurred. And once the shift occurs, the external must conform. It is not a matter of if. It is only a matter of when, and when is often quicker than expected. When you assume, you are not lying to yourself. You are aligning with a deeper truth. The senses may report lack. The bank account may display insufficiency, but these are simply shadows of past thinking. They are not authorities. They do not define what is possible. What defines what is possible is your capacity to feel the end, to dwell in it, to walk in it mentally with such ease and familiarity that the subconscious accepts it as true. And what the subconscious accepts as true, it must express. You must train the imagination not to be fanciful or unrealistic, but to be obedient to your command. Imagination is the creative faculty of the divine mind within you. It is not a childish tool, it is the master sculptor of your experience. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you engage this inner faculty with purpose. You see not what is, but what must be. You hear not the silence of delay, but the sounds of celebration. You do not ask if it is possible. You know that it already is, because you have felt it. This is not about fooling yourself. It is about waking up to the truth that your state of being is the cause of all effects. You are not reacting to life, you are creating it with every sustained mood and mental picture. A man who walks with confidence before the prize is in his hand is not deluded. He is aligned. And because he is aligned, the world must rearrange itself to match him. The feeling is everything. Words are important, but without the feeling behind them, they are empty. You could repeat 1,000 affirmations, but if you do so from a state of desperation or disbelief, they carry no power. Yet one deep, sincere moment of assuming the feeling of your desire fulfilled can set into motion forces beyond comprehension. The feeling is the prayer. The feeling is the doorway. The feeling is the power that moves reality from one configuration to another. To assume the feeling is to live in the result before it materializes. It is to close the gap between desire and possession. You do not say, "I hope it will happen." You say, "It has already happened," and you feel what that truth would feel like. That feeling is your permission slip. That feeling is your silent claim. It speaks to the universe more loudly than any words ever could. It declares, "I am ready. I accept." Practice this in quiet moments. Close your eyes. Go within, ask yourself, if this desire were fulfilled, how would I feel? Then surrender to that feeling. Dwell in it. Marinate in it. Let it wrap around you and sink into your bones. The outer scene may still be unchanged, but within, you have already crossed the line. That is the only crossing that matters. You do not have to explain it to others. They may not understand, and that is fine. This work is done in silence and secrecy. It is between you and the law. Between you and the infinite. You owe no explanations. You owe only alignment. You must become so familiar with your desired outcome that it feels more real than the current moment. You must inhabit it so fully that doubt becomes irrelevant, not because you've conquered doubt, but because there's no room for it. Your inner world is too full of knowing, too saturated with certainty. You are not pretending. It is already done in the invisible. When a person truly assumes the feeling, their tone changes. Their body language shifts. They no longer speak as one waiting, they speak as one who knows. Their energy becomes magnetic, their vibration elevated, and the world takes notice. Opportunities come. Circumstances shift. What once seemed unlikely begins to take shape, and those around them say, "How did this happen?" But the one who has assumed does not wonder. They knew all along, because they already lived the outcome within. You may practice this with anything: health, wealth, relationships, success. The form does not matter. The principle remains the same. Assume it now. Feel it now. Stop looking for evidence and start becoming the evidence. Stop measuring time and start measuring alignment. How close are you to the feeling? How often do you visit it? How deeply do you believe it? These are the questions that matter. No effort in this world is more powerful than sustained inner alignment. All outer striving, when disconnected from the feeling of fulfillment, becomes frustration. But one moment of true inner alignment can accomplish what years of toil cannot. This is the law, this is the secret. This is the way. Align with spiritual law, not chance. The universe is not governed by accident, nor by luck, nor by the whim of unseen forces. It is governed by precise, unchanging principles, laws that work with mathematical accuracy, regardless of who applies them. To align with spiritual law is to place yourself in harmony with the unseen currents of power that already know how to bring your desire to pass. Spiritual law does not fail. It does not sometimes work and sometimes not. It always works according to the consciousness of the one using it. When you align, you do not beg. You do not plead. You come into agreement with that which has always been waiting for your recognition. Chance is the belief of the untrained mind. It is the worldview of those who do not yet understand that thought precedes form, that the inner state creates the outer circumstance. People say someone is lucky when they see sudden success or wealth, not realizing that behind that success is often a deep conscious or unconscious alignment with law. Spiritual law operates quietly and impersonally. It rewards no favorites, it only mirrors. What you hold in consciousness, consistently and with belief, becomes your experience. Chance may appear to explain things on the surface, but it is always an illusion. Behind every so-called coincidence is cause. Intelligent, directed, lawful cause. To align with spiritual law means to study it, understand it, and most importantly, feel your way into it. You must make the law your companion, your guide, your constant reference point. Instead of reacting to life, you respond from principle. When you are tempted to doubt, you return to law. When fear rises, you do not wrestle with it. You remember that spiritual law is already at work, shaping outcomes according to your dominant state. The more you practice this remembering, the less you are thrown by appearances. The less you are swayed by the world of facts, because you begin to live by truth. The truth is that your inner world is the seed, and the outer world is the harvest. Nothing arrives in your life uninvited. That which you consistently think, feel, and expect becomes magnetized to you. This is not superstition, it is structure. Just as gravity does not care whether you believe in it, spiritual law does not wait for your approval to work, it simply operates. The choice is yours whether to move in opposition to it, believing in chaos, randomness, and unfairness, or to harmonize with it, and thus allow it to carry you with ease. Many people live as though they are victims of an unpredictable universe. They hope to win, to get lucky, to be chosen. But the one who is aligned knows they do not need to be chosen. They have already chosen themselves. They do not wait for a stroke of luck, they invoke the law. And in invoking it, they move into certainty, into calm expectancy, into divine timing. The spiritual laws of assumption, belief, forgiveness, and divine supply are not metaphors. They are practical mechanisms for creating reality from within. The spiritual laws never say, maybe. They say yes, to whatever you impress upon them. If you believe in scarcity, the law confirms it. If you believe in sudden increase, the law confirms that too. It is not personal, it is responsive. It mirrors you exactly, neither more nor less. This is why it is so essential to cleanse the mind of randomness, to clear away the debris of inherited ideas and cultural beliefs about struggle, luck, and deserving. You are not rewarded according to effort, but according to alignment. Alignment is not a feeling of strain, it is a feeling of deep inner agreement. It is when your mind, your emotions, your imagination, and your words all point in one direction. When you say, yes, within yourself to the result you desire and cease to argue against it. You do not doubt, you do not negotiate, you do not question whether you are worthy, you simply know. That knowing is alignment. And once aligned, the outer world begins to reflect it with precision. To align with spiritual law is to reject the idea of luck entirely. It is to understand that the universe is ordered, not chaotic. It is to understand that success is not reserved for the few. It is available to all who will claim it inwardly. You must no longer ask whether something is possible. You must ask, am I aligned with it? If the answer is no, you do not despair, you simply adjust. You go within and shift your state. You speak words that match your outcome. You create mental images that soothe you and excite you and lift you. You choose to dwell in the reality where what you want is already so. You do not need to figure out the mechanics. That is the job of law. The law knows the path of least resistance. It knows who to send, what to open, when to deliver. Your job is not to tinker with timing. It is to remain in alignment until the outer must obey. The more consistently you live from this awareness, the more miraculous life becomes. Not because anything has changed in the law, but because you have finally placed yourself in harmony with it. And the beautiful thing is, you do not need to be perfect. You do not need to master every nuance. You simply need to come back to alignment again and again. When fear pulls you off course, gently return. When you feel confused, go within and ask yourself what the law would say. It always says the same thing, as within, so without. If the world is not showing you what you want, it is not because it has failed you. It is because you have more aligning to do. That is all. To align is to surrender control over outcomes and assume control over consciousness. You let go of how it should look, and you focus instead on how it should feel. You walk through your days with the quiet confidence of one who understands law. You speak prosperity over your affairs. You forgive yourself quickly. You expect divine solutions. You do not get swept up in panic, because you know that panic is a signal you've stepped out of alignment. And you know how to return. You return by remembering, by stilling the mind, by affirming truth over fact, by closing your eyes and dwelling for just a moment in the finished state, the joyful result, the peaceful fulfillment. The more you live from that inner reality, the faster the outer reality catches up. You must become so familiar with spiritual law that it becomes your atmosphere, your lens, your inner compass. When the world suggests failure, you remember that it cannot override your assumption. When people doubt you, you remember that their beliefs have no authority unless you accept them. You are governed by a higher order. You are moved by unseen hands that know exactly how to bring you your good. All you must do is remain aligned. Eliminate doubt and embrace certainty. Doubt is the silent thief of manifestation. It enters the mind in small, subtle whispers, disguising itself as realism, logic, caution. It poses as wisdom, but it is fear in disguise. It does not create, it delays. It does not protect, it postpones. Doubt is the denial of the truth, that what you desire is already given in the invisible, waiting only for your unwavering belief to make it visible. Every time you entertain doubt, you cancel out the power of your word. Every time you argue with your desire, you reject the good that is already trying to reach you. The spiritual law is precise. It does not respond to partial belief. It responds to certainty, clarity, and conviction. Certainty is not arrogance. It is not noise or force or overconfidence. It is calm knowing. It is quiet assurance. It is the deep, unshakable inner agreement that says, "This is mine," and says it without hesitation. It does not need validation. It does not ask for confirmation from the world. It moves forward as though the outcome were already complete, because in truth, it is. The unseen precedes the seen, and the one who embraces certainty understands that the outer world must eventually conform to the inner image, held with clarity and emotion. Doubt is born from outer focus. It arises when you allow the senses to dictate what is true. You look at your bank account and say, "I don't see the money, so it must not be coming." You examine your relationships, your health, your career, and make judgments based on current facts. But facts are not truth. Facts are temporary reflections of previous beliefs. When you look at what is, and use it to determine what can be, you remain a prisoner of circumstances. But when you ignore appearances and choose to dwell mentally in the desired outcome, you rise above facts and enter the realm of truth. Certainty begins in imagination. You must see it so clearly in your mind that the outer world becomes secondary. You must rehearse the outcome until it feels natural. You must live mentally in the fulfilled desire until the senses begin to yield. This is not escapism. It is training. You are training the subconscious mind to accept a new reality. And once the subconscious accepts it, it must express it. But the subconscious is not persuaded by fleeting thoughts. It is moved by feeling. Consistent, saturated, unquestioned feeling. Doubt interrupts that feeling. Certainty deepens it. The work, then, is not to fight doubt, but to starve it. To stop feeding it with anxious conversations, repetitive complaints, worst-case scenarios. You do not overcome doubt by debating it. You overcome it by withdrawing your attention from it entirely. You stop agreeing with it. You stop treating it as wisdom. You turn your attention fully toward your desire, and you remain there. This is the discipline. To ignore what does not serve and to magnify what does. To train your mind like a garden, pulling out the weeds before they spread. Certainty is not something you must earn. It is something you must allow. It already lives within you, beneath the noise, beneath the conditioning, beneath the fear. It is the still, small voice that says, yes, this is possible. The voice that knows your desire is not random. That it was placed within you by something greater, something wise, something generous. Certainty grows when you trust that inner voice more than the outer noise. It expands when you act in alignment with what you believe, not with what you fear. To live with certainty means to speak differently. You stop saying, I hope, and begin saying, I know. You stop asking when and begin saying now. You stop explaining yourself to others and begin explaining your vision to yourself. Your words become creative acts. Your tone becomes your declaration. You begin to notice that what you speak with conviction starts to take shape. And when it does, you do not act surprised. You nod in calm agreement because you knew it was coming. Doubt often masquerades as preparation. It will tell you to wait for the right moment, to gather more information, to make sure you've done everything perfectly. But this is not preparation. It is procrastination disguised as caution. The right moment is when you decide. The time to believe is now. The world does not respond to hesitation. It responds to clear, deliberate energy. The moment you become certain, the moment you release hesitation, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. People respond differently. Opportunities find you. Circumstances mold themselves to your new vibration. You do not need to know how. The how belongs to the law. Your role is to sustain the state of belief long enough for the law to work. Doubt will tempt you to peek behind the curtain, to question the timeline, to measure progress with impatience. But certainty does not require proof. It is the proof. Your unwavering belief is the creative force, and when held long enough, it becomes matter, event, and experience. There is no timeline that certainty cannot collapse. What should take months can take days. What was once considered improbable can become inevitable. The more you dwell in certainty, the less external resistance you meet. You no longer send mixed signals to the universe. You no longer create with one hand and destroy with the other. You become a channel for precision. Your intention is clean, your energy undivided. And in that state, things begin to come quickly, naturally, effortlessly. The path clears because your signal is clear. The obstacles dissolve because you no longer affirm them. The delays shorten because you no longer expect them. Certainty is a decision. It is the moment you stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And begin asking, what if it does? It is the moment you stop rehearsing failure and begin rehearsing fulfillment. You must sit quietly and find the version of yourself who already has what you want. Speak as they would speak. Walk as they would walk. Feel as they would feel. You do not wait for the world to give you permission. You give it to yourself. And once given, nothing can block it but your own divided mind. Every day you are asked to choose: will you believe the truth, or will you believe appearances? Will you hold to your vision, or will you surrender to doubt? This is the only real battle. Not against others, not against circumstances, but against the inner voices that would have you shrink. You must silence them, not with force, but with love. With faith. With persistence. You turn your attention away from fear like turning a dial. You tune into a different station. A frequency where what you want is already done. The habit of doubt is strong for many because it has been practiced for years. But it is still just a habit, and any habit can be replaced. Each moment you choose belief, you weaken the old pattern. Each time you affirm your desire as already fulfilled, you imprint a new pathway in the subconscious. And that path, once well-worn, becomes your new default. Then belief is no longer effort, it is natural. Certainty becomes your atmosphere. Doubt no longer finds room to grow, because the soil of your mind no longer nourishes it. You have become the one who knows, the one who trusts, the one who speaks, and it is done. Visualize as if it's already done. This is not mere daydreaming. It is not idle fantasy or hopeful thinking. It is a deliberate, disciplined act of creation. To visualize is to enter the invisible realm where all things are first formed. It is to step ahead of time and space and see, with the inner eye, the reality that will soon appear in the outer world. You are not imagining what might be. You are visiting what already is, and you are claiming it by dwelling in its feeling. Visualization is the language of the subconscious, and the subconscious controls manifestation. When you speak to it in images, in sensations, in full sensory experiences, it listens. And once it accepts what you show it, it begins to rearrange the external world to match what you've impressed upon it. The key to effective visualization is immersion. You must not simply see the picture. You must enter it. You must feel the emotion, hear the sounds, touch the objects, sense the atmosphere. It must become more than a passing thought. It must become a living scene. When you visualize correctly, your body responds. Your heart may beat faster. Your mood may lift, your breath may deepen. This is how you know the subconscious has been engaged. The deeper the feeling, the faster the result. Visualization, when infused with belief and emotion, becomes a spiritual blueprint. It becomes the silent order placed with the universe. When you visualize, you are not watching yourself from afar. You are looking through your own eyes. You are not a spectator. You are a participant. If you desire wealth, you do not imagine looking at your wealthy self from across the room. You see yourself holding the check, entering the new home, feeling the abundance in your hands. You live it in the present tense. Not, someday I will. But, this is mine now. The subconscious does not know the difference between real and vividly imagined. It only responds to what you feed it consistently. This is why repeated visualization is so powerful. It carves a new groove into your inner mind. And the mind, once carved, must express what it contains. You must understand that every outer result was once an inner image. Nothing appears without first being imagined. The clothes you wear, the room you sit in, the technology you use, all were once invisible thoughts. Someone saw them before they became tangible. Someone believed in them before they existed in the physical. The same process applies to your desires. You must become the one who sees it before others can. You must hold to your vision, even when the world gives you no evidence. Especially when the world gives you no evidence. Because it is in those moments that your faith deepens, your vision sharpens, and your energy aligns with the unseen. Visualization is not about controlling events, it is about aligning with outcomes. You are not forcing reality to obey. You are inviting it to mirror what you've already accepted within. And it will mirror it, with exact precision. The clearer your picture, the faster the manifestation. The more consistent your emotion, the smoother the path. You cannot visit your vision once and expect results. You must return to it daily. Morning, night, moments throughout the day. Each time you visit, you strengthen the signal. You impress it deeper, you broadcast your certainty. And the universe, operating by exact law, responds. When doubt or fear arises, return to the vision. Close your eyes, see it again, feel it again. Remind yourself of who you are in that reality. Let the imagined scene become more familiar than your current surroundings. Speak from it. Think from it. Live from it. The more real it becomes in your inner world, the more inevitable it becomes in the outer. You are not pretending. You are practicing. You are embodying. You are creating. Visualization works best when it is specific. Do not be vague. If you want freedom, define what that means. Is it a certain income? A location, a schedule, a feeling of ease? Build the scene in detail. What are you wearing? Who are you with? What do you hear? What do you see when you look around? The more detail you include, the more tangible it becomes. But detail alone is not enough. It must be paired with emotion. The emotion is the activating force. The picture is the map, the feeling is the engine. Together, they create a magnetic field that pulls the result toward you. You must also make visualization enjoyable. Do not approach it as a task. Approach it as a pleasure, a sacred meeting with the version of yourself who already has what you desire. Let it be play. Let it be joy. Do not force images. Let them arise naturally. If they change, let them. If new ones appear, trust them. Your subconscious knows what you want more deeply than you sometimes admit. Trust its guidance. Trust its symbols. Trust the sensations that come. You may use tools to enhance visualization, music that moves you, scents that ground you, objects that symbolize the desired result. These are not magic in themselves, but they serve as bridges. They help the mind settle into the scene. The more immersive the experience, the more persuasive it becomes. You are convincing yourself, not of a fantasy, but of a truth that has not yet taken form. Some will say, I cannot visualize, I see nothing. But everyone visualizes in their own way. Some see pictures, others sense, feel, hear, or know. Do not be limited by one form. Trust your dominant mode. If you are more emotional, then dwell in the feeling. If you are more auditory, then hear the sounds of success. If you are more physical, then use your body. Act out the scene, walk the steps, rehearse the outcome in motion. Visualization is flexible. It bends to your nature. Use what works. And once you've visualized, act in harmony with what you've seen. Walk like one who knows it's coming. Speak like one who has already received. Let the vision shape your choices, your tone, your posture. This is not hypocrisy. It is alignment. You are not faking anything. You are simply moving in the direction of what is already yours. And with each aligned action, the invisible moves closer to form. You become the living evidence of your own inner image. Others will see the results and call them luck, but you will know it was law. You do not need to share your vision. Protect it. Guard it. Let it be sacred. Let it be yours. Not because it is fragile, but because it is precious. Speak of it only to those who understand, who uplift, who believe. Keep it strong within you, like a hidden flame. Feed it daily. Let it grow until it no longer needs effort, until it becomes your default. Your assumption, your identity. The one who visualizes with consistency becomes the one who receives with ease. The unseen becomes seen not by chance, but by the clarity of inner vision made real. Let go of the how and trust the divine process. The greatest hindrance to manifestation is the mind's obsession with details. It wants to know how things will unfold, when they will arrive, through whom, and in what manner. But the how belongs to the infinite, not to the individual. The part you play is alignment, clarity, belief. The mechanism, the delivery, the sequence of events, that is the realm of spiritual law. When you interfere with the process by demanding specifics, you interrupt the flow. You move from trust into control, from faith into fear, from creative power into restriction. The truth is that your desired result has countless pathways to reach you. The mind, limited by past experience and logical sequence, imagines only a few. But spirit, boundless and wise, has ways and means that cannot be predicted or planned. When you let go of the how, you release resistance. You allow space for grace. You make room for solutions that would never occur to your conscious mind. You open yourself to divine orchestration, where all things are working together behind the scenes to fulfill what you've already accepted within. The moment you try to manipulate the process, to force it into a mold, you narrow the channel. You say to the universe, I want this, but only if it comes the way I expect. And in doing so, you shut the door to miracles, to serendipity, to the sudden unfolding that often appears as coincidence, but is in truth precision. To trust the process is to surrender, not in weakness, but in wisdom. You stop micromanaging. You stop revisiting the mechanics. You plant the seed and trust the law of growth. You water it with faith, with gratitude, with imagination, and you allow it to sprout in its own way. You do not dig it up to check on it. You do not rush it, question it, or compare it to other seeds. You honor its timing. You trust its nature. You know that what is for you cannot be lost, delayed, or taken. It is simply preparing its way. The ego fears letting go of the how, because it equates control with safety. It wants guarantees, timelines, blueprints. But manifestation is not a mechanical process. It is a spiritual one. It does not unfold according to human logic, but according to divine law. The more you try to map every step, the more you feel exhausted, anxious, frustrated. But when you release the how, you feel relief. You feel light. You feel the burden lift, because you have handed it back to the part of you that already knows the way. Letting go of the how does not mean doing nothing. It means doing only what is yours to do. You follow intuitive nudges. You take aligned actions. You move in the direction of your desire, but you do not obsess over the route. You do not demand certainty from the outside world. You create certainty within. You live from the end. You hold the feeling of fulfillment. You become the person who already has what they asked for. That is your work. That is your responsibility. The rest is handled by the law. The more you trust, the faster it comes. Not because you've done more, but because you've stopped interfering. You've stopped adding friction. Doubt, fear, control. All are forms of resistance. Faith, ease, surrender. These are forms of allowance. When you shift from grasping to trusting, you align with flow. And flow is the natural rhythm of creation. The rivers do not ask how they will reach the sea. They simply move, responding to gravity's shape momentum. In the same way your desire knows its path. It only needs you to stop damming the current. Many people pray for results, visualize outcomes, affirm their desires, and then cancel the process by worrying about logistics. They ask, but how will it come? What if it doesn't? What if I fail? These questions are not neutral. They are counter-creations. They plant seeds of confusion in the soil of the subconscious. And the subconscious, ever obedient, will mirror that confusion back. But when you say, I don't know how, but I know it is done, you stay in the energy of completion. You align with certainty, and certainty is creative. The is not your concern because the universe operates on a level of intelligence far beyond your planning. What you call miracles are simply manifestations that bypassed your expectations. What you call luck is often just a demonstration of divine timing and perfect alignment. The invisible realm is working constantly in your favor, but only to the degree you allow it. When you insist on being in charge of the process, you slow it. When you allow spirit to move freely, you accelerate it. Letting go of the how is an act of devotion. It says, I trust life more than I trust my fear. I trust the source more than I trust my senses. I trust that what I have asked for is already on its way. Even if I cannot yet see the route, that trust becomes your foundation. It becomes your frequency. And your frequency is what draws the form to you. You do not manifest by force. You manifest by frequency. The one who radiates certainty, peace, joy, and gratitude becomes a match for what they desire. And that match creates manifestation. You must come to a place where not knowing no longer disturbs you. Where the mystery is not a problem, but a promise. You walk forward with confidence, even in fog, because you know that the path will appear under your feet as you move. You no longer need proof before believing. You believe and proof arrives. This is the reversal of the worldly order and the key to the spiritual one. First you believe, then you see. First you assume, then you receive. The how is the realm of unfolding. It is not static, it is fluid, dynamic, multi-dimensional. To try to control it is to freeze it. To trust it is to energize it. As you practice letting go of the how, you will notice more ease in your life. You will see things fall into place without effort. You will witness the timing of events that could not have been orchestrated by your mind. You will meet people you never planned to meet. Be offered opportunities you never imagined. Find answers where you weren't even looking. These are signs that you have stepped out of control and into cooperation. You are no longer pushing. You are allowing. No longer forcing. You are inviting. No longer questioning. You are knowing. Each time your mind wanders into the mechanics, gently guide it back. Say to yourself, that is not my job. My job is to believe. My job is to feel it done. My job is to align. Let that be enough. Let that be your peace. You do not need to understand the entire journey to begin walking. You do not need to trace every thread to trust the tapestry. You do not need to hold the plan to receive the promise. The promise is already held in divine intelligence, already set in motion, already unfolding perfectly.